Hello and welcome to this Blender tutorial. In this video you will learn the basics of Blender and how to use it to create 3D assets. Before beginning the tutorial, I want to thank all the subscribers of my YouTube channel, and if you don't subscribe yet, you can click the subscribe button below and hit the bell to get notifications from my YouTube channel. Don't have Blender yet, you can download it from blender.org. And when you start Blender, you have this main window, and in the middle you have a splash screen where you can create a new file by clicking one of these links. You can open the recent file you created in Blender here, and you have links to the blender.org website. To get rid of this splash screen, you can click on the viewport right here, and now you have access to the viewport of Blender. In the top of the window you have this menu where you can access the file section, where you can create a new project. You can open a project, an existing project, and you have access to the recent project you created in Blender. You can save changes you made on your project, and you can import other assets from different formats file, and you can export to other formats like FBX or Object, Collada, and other formats. In the Edit menu you can access the preferences of Blender, and from here you can change the interface of Blender or the theme of Blender by changing the text style, for example, or the user interface. And you have also access to the add-ons sections, and from here you can choose the add-ons you want to use, and you can install yours from here. So you can download add-ons from the internet, the free ones, or you can buy add-ons from the Blender market, for example. And you have access also to the system, where you can choose, for example, the Cycles render device, and here you can choose to render your scenes using the graphic processors. Now we covered the main window of Blender, we can talk about workspaces in Blender. Here you can choose the type of task you want to do in Blender. For example, for modeling you can choose modeling, and for sculpting you can choose sculpting, and UV editing for UV editing, and so on. The main thing to know about Blender is the fact that we can change the organization of the window as we want. For example, we can change the viewport to the shader editor from here, or we can change it to the image editor, and we can also add another editor by clicking in the corner here, in the corner here, and when you have the plus sign you can click and you can move the mouse like this, and you have another editor. And you can change the type of editor by clicking here and choose the type of the editor you want. There are three panels when you start Blender. In the middle you have the viewport, where you have your 3D scene. You can add or remove objects from the scene, and you can edit your object in the edit mode and modify it if you want. On the right side you have the outliner, where you can find the list of objects in your scene. You can organize them into collections here, and you can hide the object by clicking on the eye icon here. On the right bottom you have the render properties, where you can choose the render engine from Eevee or Workbench or Cycles. You can also change the resolution of the render in the output properties here. In this properties panel you have also the properties object. Here you can change the name of the object, and you can change the properties of the object like the location, the rotation, and the scale. Here you have the modifiers list, and from this list you can choose a modifier and add it to the object, like the mirror modifier or the subdivision modifier. In the bottom you have the material properties. Here you can change the material of the object. So for example, you can change the color of the object here, so base color, and to see the color you have to change it here to the material preview. And now you can see the color of the object. Finally, you have the texture section or the texture properties. Here you can change a new texture for the object, and you can open a texture to apply it to the object. Below the viewport you have the timeline, and this is for the animation purpose. Now we covered the whole window, we can begin with the basics of the viewport of Blender. So to move around the scene, we can press Shift key and click on the middle mouse button like this. To rotate, we can just click on the middle mouse button and move the mouse like this. And for zoom in, we just scroll the middle mouse button to zoom in and zoom out. To select the object, we use the left mouse button, and to deselect it, we just click on the viewport like this. There are two panels you can show and hide in the viewport. The first one on the right with the N key like this, and here you can find the properties of the object here, and you can change the properties here. For example, the location. If you click and move the mouse, you can see the object moving on the scene. You can change the rotation here, and you can also change the scale here. The other panel is on the left, which is here. You can hide it by pressing the T key, and show it by pressing the T key. Here you can find the manipulators of the object. So if you click here, you can see the arrows. You can click on one of them and move the object. So here on the Y axis or on the Z axis like this. This one is for the rotation of the object, so you can rotate it on one axis. And this one is for scaling, so if you click on the X axis and you move the mouse, you can scale the object on the X axis or the Z axis. And the last one is combining the three first ones, so you can rotate, you can scale, and you can move. In the top of the viewport you have different sections. On the left you have this section for choosing the mode, so you can change between the object mode and the edit mode to manipulate the object or to change it, to transform it. And you can also change to the sculpt mode, similar to this one here. And you can also change to the vertex paint mode or weight paint mode or texture paint mode. Here you have properties of the view, and here you have the select options, so you can select multiple objects. You can add different objects to the scene, like the plane, cube, circle, or the UV sphere. You can also add a text, or you can add images. And on the right you have the object properties, so you can transform the object, like rotate it, scale it, or you can change the origin of the object. You can duplicate the object, and you can join, so you can join multiple objects from here. In the middle of the viewport you can change the transform orientation from the global to local or normal, or you can choose the cursor orientation. And you can change the pivot point from here. If you choose the 3D cursor and you rotate the object, it's rotating around the 3D cursor. And if you choose the median point here and you rotate the object, this object is rotating around the median point. And you can activate the snapping tool here, and you can choose the mode of the snap tool, for example vertex. And if you go to the edit mode and you select this vertex with the left mouse button, and when you click on the z-axis, for example, and you choose this vertex, so these two vertices have the same level on the z-axis, so same location on the z-axis. The last one is the proportional editing, which is here, and from here you can choose the curve of the proportional editing. And this one, if you want to change the perimeter of the proportional editing, you press S key and you scroll the mouse. And now if you activate it like this and you move this vertex, you have just this vertex moving. But if you want the second vertex moving when you move this vertex, you can change the circle of the proportional editing like this, and when you move this vertex, the other one can move with the first one like this. On the right side of the viewport you have this part about shading, so you can choose between different shading. So here you can activate the wireframe shading, so now you can see through the object. You can choose the solid shader, the default one, and you can choose the material preview shading, so here you can see the material. So if you change the properties of the material, for example the color, you can see the color of the object. And the last one is for the rendering, to preview the rendering of the object. So these 4 options, you can activate them when you are in the edit mode or you are in the object mode. This is the end of the tutorial. I hope you like it. If so, you can click the like button below and let me know in the comment if you have any question.